Hi, today we are going to show you how to make a chuck roast. Here is the piece of meat, and yes, chuck roast is a little fatty, but you get an awful lot of flavor out of it. So I'm going to show you how to season that in just a minute. But you come over here and you see I have a cast iron skillet, and I have the heat up on medium, and I'm using a little bit of coconut oil, heaping tablespoon, and also we are going to put some olive oil in the pan. I really don't measure, but I'd say that's probably about a third of a cup, something like that. Okay, let that melt and get hot. Now we're going to come back over here and I'm going to show you how I season it. Today I'm going to use some granulated garlic, some pepper, some sea salt, and a little bit of seasoned salt. Okay, so I'm just going to liberally put the garlic, a little bit of salt, a little bit of seasoned salt. Seasoned salt has other things in it, so I like to use it. It's not as salty as regular salt. And I like a lot of pepper, so I'm going to turn that. Do it on both sides. Also going to get some on the sides. It's the garlic, a little bit of seasoned salt, kosher salt or sea salt, some pepper, and the seasoned salt. Okay, I'm going to rinse my hands. Alright, my oil is not quite hot. You can see come back over here. You can spray your cast iron with a little bit of water you have on your hands, and it's not quite bubbling, so I'm going to mix the coconut oil in with the olive oil. And you might be asking why I do that, and the reason is because coconut oil can withstand a much higher heat than olive oil, and I like to use olive oil instead of corn oil because I think that corn oil is very bad for us, and I only use it when I absolutely have to. So I think that's about ready. It's starting to sizzle when I add water to it. Okay, so I'm going to put my meat in. And whenever I make any kind of roast, I always brown my meat first. And I do that because if you just put raw meat into a crock pot or any sort of 8-quart, 10-quart pan and cover it with water and start to cook it, you end up with boiled meat, which tends to have a very gray color to it. So I like to brown my meat to get a caramelization on the outside, and that brings a lot of flavor into your gravy. Okay, so I'm going to brown this on all the sides, and we will come back in just a little bit. Okay, well, I just turned it. Getting a beautiful caramelization on there. I'm going to zoom in for you. You can see that. Okay. You can tell that the pan is starting to get a little hot, so I turned the heat down also. So I'm going to brown it on all the sides, and then we'll be back, okay? So as you can see, I have it standing up on end so I can get the sides nice and brown. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put it into a I believe it's an 8-quart stock pot. So that'll be the next stage, and I'll be back to you shortly. Okay, so now I've transferred it to a 8-quart stock pot, and I'm going to just cover it with water. And that was 2 quarts of water. And then I'm going to cut some onions. Okay, so don't forget to cover it and simmer it for about an hour and a half. Today I'm using 2 very large onions. I'm cutting the ends off. And I almost cut almost right through, and then I try to peel them. That one didn't peel that well. I'll show you what I mean. I try to get a little bit of a peel on there so that I can take the peelings off more easily, like that. And peel this off. I don't want to waste a whole lot of the skin there. Okay, now if it's not ready to peel, I just chomp into it like that. Find a corner. Peel my onion. Okay. Throw that away. Now, for the purposes of this roast, my family really does like a lot of large chunks of onion to eat on the side. So I'm just going to quarter these onions, or basically make them in eighths, okay? If you don't like onions, having them cut large like this will help you to scoop them out, but it does make a lot of really good flavor in your gravy. So we're going to add this to the roast. Stir that around. Now, some people like to add onion soup. I don't cook with onion soup, I cook with onions. And I actually use the Orrington Farms broth base. Comes in beef, chicken, and ham flavored. And for this roast today, I'm going to put a couple heaping tablespoons in there. Maybe 3. Okay. Stir that around. You can see it already adds a very rich brown color. And yes, it does make it salty, but after you thicken your gravy, it loses a lot of the salt flavor. I also like to add what's called Kitchen Bouquet, and this product does have a little bit of flavor. It's not super flavorful, but I'm going to put about 1/4 of a cup in there, and what that does is it makes it very dark brown, gives it a little earthy tone to the flavor. Stir that around. You can see how dark that makes the gravy. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, chuck roast is a very tough piece of meat, and it's relatively cheap, but you have to cook it a minimum of 2 hours in order for it to be shreddable. and I'll be showing you all of that later after this cooks. So we'll be back in about an hour and a half when I add some extra vegetables to this. Alright, so we'll see you then. So now I'm going to prepare the vegetables. You want to peel off the leaves that don't look so appetizing.
So, Santa had a decision to make.
You want to cut this. You want to leave. This is the core right here. Right here you got this V-shaped core right here. You want to make sure that you slice some pieces that still have the core on it, so that when you cook it, the piece doesn't fall apart. Okay, so we cut it like that, and I cut it like that. Now that's all I'm going to use today, but see, the core holds it together. If you didn't have that on there, all these leaves, just like lettuce, would separate and be floating around in your pot. So if you have a piece that are falling off there, you want to just peel that off like that. Okay, so we're just going to cut the ends off the carrots. And I don't peel my carrots because I like all the vitamins to be in my dish. So that's all we're going to do. And I also cleaned about 6 or 7 potatoes, and when we're ready to put those into the pot, we'll be ready to go. So that's how you do that. Now we're going to take the lid off, and we're going to add our vegetables. I'm going to put my potatoes in first. Okay, then after the potatoes, I'm going to put my cabbage in. And since I'm the only one that likes cabbage, I'm going to just put 3 pieces in there. And I'll have leftovers. Then you put your carrots in. Now you're going to cook that for about another 45 minutes on medium-low. And then we'll get ready to make gravy and we'll eat it. Okay, so everything's taken out of the pan. All the onions are in the bowl here. The meat, all the vegetables ready to eat. Now we're going to make gravy. Okay, well now I took equal parts of cornstarch and water, and I made a little sauce here. So you want to make sure your liquid is boiling at a nice boil. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. My grandbaby's here with me. Okay, so now we're going to pour all that in there. Now we're going to stir it as it's going. Okay. Alright. Hang on. Just a minute, Ryan. Don't move it. Okay, so now we have gravy. And it's beautiful consistency, beautiful color. And now we're ready to eat. Bon appetit.